It was the kind of night that made Sam Turner question all his life choices. The stars glittered, like a spilled box of broken glass, cold and indifferent, as he sat hunched over his workbench in the converted shed he called his workshop. The contraption in front of him, a hybrid toaster coffee maker, sputtered ominously before emitting a puff of acrid smoke. "Perfect," Sam muttered, waving the smoke away with a rag. Because what's life without a little existential failure in the form of burnt toast and undrinkable coffee? The shed was a chaotic museum of half-finished projects, a hover lawnmower that only hovered when turned off, a drone programmed to fetch snacks but which consistently mistook socks for potato chips, and a series of mysterious circuits that had no discernible purpose other than blinking in vaguely threatening patterns. Sam wasn't a mad scientist. He liked to think of himself as a mildly annoyed tinkerer. He lived alone on the edge of a forest, his closest neighbor being a retired farmer who communicated exclusively through grunts and hand gestures. Sam liked the solitude. It kept the world's expectations at bay. But tonight, as he leaned back in his creaky chair and gazed out the shed's small window, he couldn't shake the feeling that the universe was about to mess with him in a way he wasn't prepared for. Then came the knock. It was faint at first, almost polite, like someone unsure if they were welcome. Sam froze, ears straining. The sound came again, louder this time. 3 deliberate raps, each one sending a chill skittering down his spine. "Who knocks in the middle of nowhere?" he muttered, grabbing the nearest object that could double as a weapon, a wrench large enough to club a bear. The trek from the shed to the front door of his small cabin felt like an eternity. The forest outside was eerily silent, the kind of silence that made you question whether something was listening. Sam's hand hesitated on the doorknob. "Okay," he whispered to himself. "It's probably just some lost hiker, or a Girl Scout with really bad GPS. Nothing to freak out about." He opened the door. Standing there was a woman, or at least something that looked like a woman. Her skin shimmered faintly, catching the moonlight in hues of silver and violet, as if her body was made of liquid starlight. Her hair flowed in waves that defied gravity, and her eyes, those eyes, were molten pools of silver, ancient and alien. In her arms, she cradled a bundle wrapped in what looked like a metallic fabric, faintly glowing at the edges. The bundle squirmed, emitting a soft, almost musical cooing sound. Sam blinked. Hi?" The woman staggered forward, her legs barely holding her up. Her lips moved, but the words that came out were a strange melodic language that made Sam's brain itch. She tried again, this time in halting English. "Please, help." Before Sam could respond, she thrust the bundle into his arms. "Whoa, whoa, whoa," he stammered, nearly dropping it. The bundle shifted and a tiny face peeked out, a baby but not quite. Its skin was the same shimmering silver as the woman's, its eyes large and luminous. Sam had never held a baby before and quickly realized it was like trying to balance a very wiggly bag of water. "What am I supposed to do with this?" he asked, his voice an octave higher than usual. The woman collapsed to her knees, her body trembling. "Protect the child," she managed to say before her head drooped, and she slumped to the ground. "Protect the—" Sam began, but his words were cut off by a sudden sharp noise in the distance. It sounded like a low mechanical hum, growing louder by the second. Sam glanced at the woman, then at the baby, then back at the dark forest. "Oh no, nope. This is above my pay grade. I don't even have a pay grade." The hum turned into a screech, and something shot out of the trees. A small hovering drone with spindly appendages, and a glowing red sensor that screamed bad news. Sam's survival instincts kicked in, which mostly involved panicking and flailing. He ducked just as the drone fired a bolt of energy that sizzled past his head, scorching the doorframe. "Okay, this is officially the worst Tuesday ever," he muttered, clutching the baby tighter. The woman stirred weakly, her hand fumbling for a small device on her belt. With a flick of her wrist, she activated it, and a shimmering dome of light enveloped the cabin. The drone collided with the barrier, sparks flying, before retreating into the shadows. "Safe, for now," the woman murmured, her voice barely audible. Sam stared at her, then at the baby, then at the still-smoking doorframe. What the hell is going on? Who are you, and why does that flying blender want to kill us? The woman's eyes fluttered open, her gaze locking onto his. "The child is the last—" "The last what?" Sam prompted, already regretting the question. "Hope," she whispered, before her eyes closed again. Sam stood there, the baby cooing in his arms, his mind racing. He glanced at the shimmering barrier, then at the dark forest beyond, and finally at the unconscious alien woman on his floor. "Well," he said to no one in particular, "I guess this beats burning toast." As the night stretched on, Sam realized two things. One, he had no idea how to take care of a baby, alien or otherwise, and two, his quiet, uneventful life had just been thrown into a blender set to chaos. The morning arrived reluctantly, as if the sun itself wasn't sure it wanted to be part of Sam Turner's life anymore. The events of the night before still felt like a fever dream, but the metallic hum of the drone, the shimmering woman on his floor, and the alien baby currently gnawing on one of his screwdriver handles were very real. Sam rubbed his temples, staring at the child in disbelief. "You know, kid, I don't think OSHA regulations cover this scenario. I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to chew on tools." The baby, Caleth, as the alien woman had whispered before passing out again, responded with a series of musical chirps that sounded suspiciously like laughter. "Great," Sam muttered. "A baby with a sense of humor. Just what I needed." He turned his attention to the woman, who was still unconscious but breathing steadily. Her skin shimmered faintly in the sunlight, giving her an otherworldly glow that was equal parts mesmerizing and unsettling. "So," he said aloud, addressing no one in particular, "what's the protocol here? Do I call 911? Because I'm pretty sure the dispatcher's going to hang up if I say, 'Hi, I have an alien on my floor and a glowing baby chewing on my tools.'" As if on cue, a low, ominous hum vibrated through the air, cutting off his train of thought. Sam froze, his eyes darting to the window. The hum grew louder, more insistent, until it was joined by a sharp, mechanical screech. "Oh, come on," he groaned, grabbing Caleth and ducking behind the overturned couch. The shimmering barrier that the woman had activated the night before flickered and buzzed as a swarm of drones descended on the cabin. These weren't like the single scout from the night before. These were larger, sleeker, and far more menacing, with glowing red sensors that swept across the landscape like searchlights. Sam peeked over the edge of the couch, his heart pounding. "Okay, think, Turner. You're a problem solver. You fix things. Like that time you accidentally flooded the garage and built a pump out of a vacuum cleaner. You've got this." His eyes landed on the cluttered workbench across the room. Tools, wires, and half-finished gadgets were scattered everywhere, and amidst the chaos was his latest failed project, a portable plasma torch. "Not ideal," he muttered, "but beggars can't be choosers." With Caleth tucked securely under one arm, Sam made a mad dash for the workbench, narrowly avoiding a searing energy bolt that blasted a hole in the wall. He grabbed the torch, which was still sparking ominously, and turned to face the nearest drone. "All right, you flying Roomba reject," he said, holding the torch like a sword. "Let's see how you like some old-fashioned human ingenuity." The drone responded by firing another energy bolt, which Sam barely dodged. He pressed the activation button on the torch, and to his surprise, and mild horror, it sputtered to life, emitting a bright, erratic flame. "Ha!" he shouted, swinging the torch wildly. "Take that." The drone hesitated, its sensor flickering as if trying to calculate whether this flailing human with a questionable weapon was a threat. Sam took the opportunity to lunge forward, jamming the torch into the drone's central core. Sparks flew, and the drone let out a mechanical shriek before crashing to the ground in a smoking heap. Sam stared at the wreckage, panting. Okay, that worked. Kind of. The other drones, however, were not impressed. They converged on the cabin, their sensors glowing brighter as they prepared to fire. Plan B, Sam muttered, scooping up a handful of tools and chucking them at the drones like a desperate pitcher in a bad baseball game. To his surprise, one of the drones wobbled and crashed after being hit by a particularly well-aimed wrench. Note to self, he said, wrenches are surprisingly effective anti-drone weapons. As the battle raged on, the alien woman stirred, her eyes fluttering open. She took in the scene, Sam wielding a sparking plasma torch, Kaleth squealing in delight in a pile of smoking drone parts, and managed a faint smile. "You fight well," she said weakly. "Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure this wasn't in the babysitting manual," Sam replied, dodging another energy bolt. "Any chance you can, I don't know, call off the killer robots?" The woman reached for the device on her belt, her movements sluggish. With a trembling hand, she pressed a series of buttons, and the shimmering barrier around the cabin expanded outward, enveloping the drones. The machines sparked and fizzled as the barrier disrupted their systems, and within moments, they all fell to the ground, lifeless. Sam collapsed onto the floor, clutching Kaleth and the now useless plasma torch. "I take it back," he said, panting. "This is officially the worst Wednesday ever." The woman sat up slowly, her expression a mix of exhaustion and gratitude. "Thank you," she said. "You saved us." Sam raised an eyebrow. "Saved might be a strong word. I'm pretty sure I just annoyed them to death." She chuckled softly, the sound musical and oddly comforting. "You have courage, Sam Turner." Sam blinked. "Wait, how do you know my name?" "I heard you speaking to yourself last night," she admitted. "You talk a lot." "Great," he muttered. "Even aliens think I'm a weirdo." The woman's expression turned serious. "We must leave. The syndicate will send more. They will not stop until they have the child." Sam frowned. "The syndicate? Is that what those drones are from? And why are they after the baby?" The woman hesitated, as if weighing how much to tell him. Finally, she said, "The child is Kaleth, heir to the Orlith Empire. The syndicate seeks to destroy the royal bloodline and claim power for themselves." Sam stared at her, then at Kaleth, who was now chewing on the hem of his shirt. "So, you're telling me I've been babysitting space royalty this whole time?" "Yes," she said simply. Sam groaned, running a hand through his hair. "Of course, because my life wasn't complicated enough already." As the woman began explaining their next steps, Sam couldn't help but feel a strange mix of dread and determination. He had no idea what he was getting himself into, but one thing was clear. Life as he knew it was over. And maybe, just maybe, that wasn't such a bad thing. The forest was alive with the sounds of dawn. Chirping birds, rustling leaves, and the occasional metallic clunk as Sam tried to wrestle a glowing alien pod through his front door. "Seriously," he grunted, shoving the oblong device forward with his shoulder. "Who designs a spaceship that doesn't fit through a standard human doorway? Did you aliens not consider ergonomics?" The pod, roughly the size of a refrigerator, shimmered with an iridescent sheen that rippled like liquid metal. It had emerged from the forest just before dawn, summoned by the alien woman, whose name, as she'd finally revealed, was Lyrae. She had called it a stasis capsule, but to Sam, it looked like a high-tech egg that had gotten a little too ambitious. Lyrae stood nearby, her silver eyes flickering with amusement. "It was not designed for your rustic architecture." Sam glared at her, wiping sweat from his brow. "Rustic? This cabin has character. It's charming. And it's not my fault your pod has the same dimensions as a vending machine on steroids." Kaleth, perched on the workbench in his makeshift baby carrier, a hastily modified backpack, chirped in what sounded suspiciously like agreement. "Et tu, Kaleth," Sam muttered. With one final push, the pod finally slid into the cabin, emitting a soft hum as it settled into place. Sam collapsed onto the couch, glaring at it as if it had personally insulted him. "Okay," he said, pointing a finger at Lyrae. "I've moved your alien luggage. Now, can someone please explain what the plan is before another squadron of murder drones shows up to redecorate my walls?" Lyrae's expression turned serious. "The pod is a transport device. It will take us to a safe location, a sanctuary hidden deep in the Zetheris Nebula." Sam blinked. "The Zetheris Nebula? That sounds like something out of a bad science fiction novel." Lyrae raised an eyebrow. "You are living in a bad sci-fi novel, Sam Turner." "Touché," he muttered. She knelt beside the pod, her fingers gliding over its surface. The metallic shell rippled like water, revealing a control panel that glowed faintly. "The journey will not be easy," she said. "The Syndicate will track us, but if we can reach the sanctuary, Kalith will be safe." Sam frowned, leaning forward. "And what happens if we don't reach it?" Lyrae's silence was answer enough. "Great," he said, throwing his hands in the air. "So we're hitchhiking across the galaxy with a baby and a target on our backs. This is fine. Everything's fine." Kalith chirped again, his tiny hands waving in the air. "Glad one of us is enjoying this," Sam muttered. Lyrae activated the pod, and the interior began to glow with a soft, pulsating light. "We must leave now," she said. "The Syndicate will not wait." Sam hesitated, glancing around the cabin. It wasn't much, but it was home. Or at least it had been. Now it felt like a relic of a simpler life, one he wasn't sure he'd ever get back. "All right," he said, standing up. "But if this pod explodes or teleports me into a black hole, I'm filing a complaint with your cosmic customer service department." Lyrae smiled faintly. "Your courage is appreciated, Sam Turner." "Courage? No, this is just stupidity dressed up as bravery." They climbed into the pod, which was surprisingly spacious inside. The walls shimmered with shifting patterns of light, and the air hummed with a faint, soothing vibration. Kalith cooed happily, his tiny hands reaching for the glowing panels. "Kid's got good taste," Sam said, strapping himself into one of the seats. "This is way cooler than my car. Do you guys sell these on Alien Craigslist?" Lyrae ignored him, focusing on the controls. The pod's hum grew louder, and the cabin was suddenly filled with a sensation that Sam could only describe as falling sideways. "Whoa," he said, gripping the armrests. "Is this normal? Because it feels like my stomach just did a backflip." "Relax," Lyrae said. "The pod is calibrating its spatial displacement field." "Right," Sam said, his knuckles white. "Totally normal. Just a little spatial displacement. No big deal." The pod lurched, and suddenly the cabin's walls dissolved into a swirling panorama of stars and nebulae. Sam's jaw dropped as he stared out into the vastness of space, the colors and shapes so vivid they looked like a cosmic painting come to life. "Okay," he said, his voice hushed. "This is actually kind of amazing." Lyrae glanced at him, her expression softening. "The universe is vast and beautiful, Sam Turner, but it is also dangerous." "Yeah, I got that memo," he said, gesturing to Kalith. "What's the deal with him anyway? Why is he so important?" Lyrae hesitated, her gaze shifting to the baby. "Kalith is not just the heir to the Orolith Empire. He is unique. His existence represents a convergence of ancient powers, forces that the Syndicate seeks to control." Sam frowned. "So he's like a cosmic key or something?" "Something like that," Lyrae said. Before Sam could ask more questions, the pod shuddered violently. Alarms blared, and the shimmering walls turned a deep, pulsing red. "What now?" Sam shouted, gripping the seat. Lyrae's expression hardened. "They've found us." Outside, a fleet of sleek black ships emerged from the void, their glowing red weapons charging ominously. "Oh, great," Sam said. "Space pirates, because this day wasn't stressful enough already." "They are Syndicate hunters," Lyrae said, her fingers flying over the controls. "They will not let us escape easily." Sam glanced at Kalith, who was still cooing happily despite the chaos. "Kid, you've got a weird sense of timing, you know that?" The pod jerked again, and Lyrae activated a series of holographic displays. "Sam, I need your help," she said. "Me?" he said, his voice rising. "I don't even know how to fix my toaster. What am I supposed to do here?" Lyrae pointed to a glowing panel. "That is the pod's defense system. Use it." Sam stared at the panel, which was covered in alien symbols and flashing lights. "This looks like the world's hardest video game." "Then play," Lyrae said, her voice sharp. Taking a deep breath, Sam tapped one of the symbols, and a beam of energy shot out from the pod, narrowly missing one of the syndicate ships. "Okay," he said, his hand shaking. "I can do this, I think." As the pod weaved and dodged through the enemy fleet, Sam found himself in the most surreal dogfight of his life. He fired beams, launched glowing orbs, and accidentally activated a shield that turned the pod into a glowing disco ball. "Did I just bedazzle us?" he asked. Lyrae smirked despite the tension. "It is effective." Finally, with a burst of speed, the pod broke through the enemy blockade and disappeared into a swirling vortex of light. Sam collapsed back into his seat, panting. "I can't believe we made it." Lyrae smiled faintly. "You did well, Sam Turner." "Yeah, well," he said, glancing at Caleth. "If this kid grows up to be Emperor of the Universe, he better name a holiday after me." Caleth chirped in agreement, and for the first time in what felt like forever, Sam laughed. The swirling vortex of light gave way to an abrupt stillness, and the pod materialized in the middle of what Sam could only describe as the galaxy's most chaotic traffic jam. Ships of every shape and size floated in a sprawling cluster, their glowing hulls blinking like confused Christmas lights. Some resembled sleek aerodynamic darts, while others looked like flying bricks held together with duct tape and sheer willpower. Sam squinted at the scene through the pod's shimmering walls. "So, this is space?" Lyrae glanced at him, her silver eyes narrowing. "This is Zynar Station, a neutral trade hub on the edge of the Zetheris Nebula." Sam leaned closer to the wall, watching as a ship that looked suspiciously like a giant toaster zipped past. "Neutral? This place looks about as neutral as a bar fight during happy hour." Lyrae sighed. "It is not without its dangers, but it is the safest place to refuel and gather supplies before we continue." "Great," Sam said, unbuckling himself, "because nothing says safe like a space station full of shady characters and questionable hygiene." Caleth, strapped securely in his makeshift baby carrier, chirped excitedly, his tiny hands reaching for the swirling nebula visible in the distance. "At least someone's having fun," Sam muttered, adjusting the straps. "All right, lead the way, Your Highness." The pod docked with a faint hiss, and the walls dissolved to reveal a bustling market that seemed to stretch infinitely in all directions. The air was thick with the hum of alien voices, the clatter of machinery, and the occasional burst of laughter or shouting. Vendors hawked glowing wares from floating stalls, and strange creatures scurried between the legs of towering, multi-limbed beings. Sam gawked at the scene, his mouth slightly agape. "This is like a space flea market on steroids." Lyrae stepped forward, her movements fluid and purposeful. "Stay close, and try not to attract attention." Sam glanced down at Caleth, who was now waving enthusiastically at a three-eyed alien selling what looked like glowing churros. "Yeah, I'll get right on that." As they navigated the crowded market, Sam couldn't help but marvel at the sheer variety of life forms around them. There were creatures with translucent skin that shimmered like jellyfish, towering figures covered in fur, and even a floating orb that emitted a soft, melodic hum as it drifted past. "Okay," he said, leaning toward Lyrae. "I have to ask. What's the deal with the floating disco ball?" Lyrae didn't even glance back. "That is a Vralian. Their species communicates through harmonic vibrations." Sam raised an eyebrow. "So basically it's a sentient kazoo?" Lyrae sighed. "Focus, Sam Turner." They stopped at a stall run by a short, squat alien with a face that resembled a melted candle. The vendor's eyes, 3 of them, all blinking independently, fixed on Lyrae with a mix of curiosity and suspicion. "Ah, Lyrae," the vendor said, his voice a gravelly purr. "It has been some time. I thought the syndicate had finally caught up with you." "Not yet," Lyrae said coolly. "I need supplies, fuel, provisions, and a cloaking device." The vendor's eyes swiveled toward Sam, who was busy trying to keep Calith from grabbing a glowing orb on the counter. "And who is this companion?" "Just a guy with a knack for not dying," Sam said, offering a half-hearted wave. The vendor chuckled, a sound like rocks grinding together. "You have interesting taste in allies, Lyrae." "Can you help us or not?" Lyrae asked, her tone sharp. The vendor tapped a clawed finger on the counter, his gaze shifting between Lyrae and Calith. "I can provide what you need, for a price." Sam groaned. "Of course there's a price. Let me guess. My firstborn child? Oh wait, I'm already babysitting space royalty, so that's off the table." The vendor's eyes narrowed. "I require no children, only information." Lyrae stiffened. "What kind of information?" The vendor leaned closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "The syndicate has increased its presence in this sector. They are searching for something important. I want to know what it is." Lyrae hesitated, her expression unreadable. "I will consider your request." The vendor nodded, his grin revealing rows of jagged teeth. "Then we have a deal." As they left the stall, Sam couldn't help but feel uneasy. So, was that guy just naturally creepy, or is it a cultural thing? Lyrae ignored him, her focus on the path ahead. "We need to move quickly. The syndicate may already have agents here." "Fantastic," Sam muttered, "because blending in has been our strong suit so far." They turned a corner and nearly collided with a group of syndicate enforcers. The tall, armored figures scanned the crowd with glowing red visors, their movements precise and intimidating. Sam froze, his heart pounding. Lyrae? I think we've got company." Lyrae grabbed his arm, pulling him into a nearby alley. "Stay quiet." Calith, sensing the tension, let out a soft chirp that Sam quickly muffled with his hand. "Not now, buddy," he whispered. The enforcers passed by without noticing them, and Sam let out a shaky breath. "Okay, that was too close. Can we please leave before things get worse?" Lyrae nodded, her expression grim. "Agreed. Follow me." They made their way back to the pod, but as they approached the docking bay, a loud explosion rocked the station. Alarms blared, and the crowd erupted into chaos as syndicate ships descended, their weapons firing indiscriminately. Sam ducked behind a cargo crate, clutching Calith tightly. "Why does every trip with you turn into a Michael Bay movie?" Lyrae activated her weapon, a sleek, glowing blade that hummed with energy. "Stay here. I will hold them off." "Hold them off?" Sam said, his voice rising. "You can't just—" But she was already gone, darting into the fray with a grace and precision that left Sam both impressed and terrified. As the battle raged, Sam glanced down at Calith, who was staring up at him with wide, trusting eyes. "All right, kid," he said, taking a deep breath. "Looks like it's up to us to not die today." He activated the pod's remote controls, and the hatch opened with a hiss. "In we go," he said, climbing inside and strapping Calith into one of the seats. Just as he was about to close the hatch, Lyrae appeared, her blade flickering as she fended off an advancing enforcer. "Go!" she shouted. Sam hesitated, his instinct screaming at him to help her. But the look in her eyes left no room for argument. With a heavy heart, he sealed the hatch and activated the pod's engines. The ship lurched forward, leaving the chaos of Zynar Station behind. As they hurtled into the void, Sam slumped into his seat, his mind racing. Well, that was a disaster. Calith chirped softly, and Sam managed a weak smile. At least we're still alive. For now. He glanced at the empty seat where Lyrae should have been, a knot forming in his stomach. "Hang in there, Lyrae," he muttered. "We'll come back for you. I promise." The pod hurtled through the black void of space, the stars streaking past like glittering arrows. Sam sat in the pilot's chair, gripping the controls with white-knuckled determination. Not that he knew what he was doing. Most of the buttons on the console were labeled in alien glyphs that might as well have been emojis. "All right, Caleth," he muttered, glancing at the baby strapped into the co-pilot seat. "If you've got any latent superpowers, now would be a great time to bust them out. Maybe telepathy, interdimensional map reading." Caleth responded by blowing a spit bubble and giggling. "Yeah, thanks for the help," Sam said, rolling his eyes. The pod's dashboard beeped urgently, and a holographic display flickered to life, showing a blinking red dot that seemed to be getting closer. "Oh, great," Sam groaned. "What now? Space cops? Space pirates? Space Girl Scouts selling really aggressive cookies?" A synthesized voice crackled through the pod speakers. "Unidentified vessel, you are entering restricted airspace. Prepare to be boarded." Sam's heart sank. Seriously? Can't a guy get 5 minutes of peace out here? The pod shuddered as a tractor beam locked onto it, dragging them toward a massive ship that loomed in the distance. The vessel was sleek and ominous, its hull bristling with weaponry and glowing panels that pulsed like a heartbeat. Caleth chirped, his tiny hands reaching for the holographic display. "Don't touch that," Sam said quickly, batting his hand away. "Last thing we need is for you to accidentally call the bad guys and invite them over for tea." As the pod was pulled into the ship's hangar, Sam's mind raced. He needed a plan, and fast. Unfortunately, his plans usually involved running, hiding, or, on particularly bad days, screaming. The pod's hatch hissed open, and Sam stepped out cautiously, holding Caleth in his arms. The hangar was cavernous, filled with rows of sleek drones and mechanical arms that twitched like sleeping giants. "Okay," he muttered to himself. "Let's try not to die today." A figure emerged from the shadows, and Sam's jaw dropped. It wasn't a syndicate enforcer or a bounty hunter. It was a robot. The machine stood about 7 feet tall, its body a patchwork of gleaming metal and exposed circuitry. Its face was a smooth, featureless mask, save for a single glowing eye that flickered like a malfunctioning light bulb. "Greetings," the robot said, its voice oddly cheerful. "I am KX-11, the artificial intelligence in charge of this vessel. How may I assist you?" Sam blinked. Assist me? Aren't you supposed to be arresting me or something?" KX-11 tilted its head, emitting a faint whirring sound. "Arrest you?" "Oh no. I simply detected an unauthorized entry into my airspace and thought I should investigate. Protocol requires me to offer assistance to stranded travelers." Sam stared at the robot, his mind struggling to process what he was hearing. "So, you're not going to kill me?" "Of course not," KX-11 said, its tone almost offended. "Why would I do that? Violence is so messy." Sam relaxed slightly, though he kept a firm grip on Caleth. "Well, in that case, I could really use some help. I'm kind of on the run from some very bad people." "Bad people?" KX-11 repeated, its eye flickering. "Fascinating. Please elaborate." Sam hesitated, unsure how much to reveal. "Let's just say they're not fans of this little guy," he said, nodding toward Caleth. The robot leaned closer, its eye scanning the baby. "Oh my, this is not an ordinary infant, is it?" "You don't say," Sam muttered. Caleth giggled, reaching out to grab one of KX-11's metallic fingers. The robot froze for a moment, then emitted a soft mechanical chuckle. "What an adorable specimen," it said. "I must admit, I've never encountered anything quite like him." Sam raised an eyebrow. "You're not planning to dissect him or anything, are you?" "Dissect him?" KX-11 sounded horrified. "Certainly not. I am an artificial intelligence, not a monster." "Good to know," Sam said. "So, any chance you can help us get out of here before the syndicate catches up?" KX-11 straightened, its eye glowing brighter. "I believe I can be of assistance. This vessel is equipped with advanced stealth technology, and a warp drive capable of reaching the farthest corners of the galaxy. Sam's eyes widened. You've got a warp drive? Why didn't you lead with that? I was gauging your trustworthiness, KX-11 said matter-of-factly. You appear to be adequately trustworthy. Marginally. Gee, thanks, Sam said dryly. The robot gestured for him to follow. Come, I will show you to the command center. As they walked through the ship's corridors, Sam couldn't help but marvel at the sleek, futuristic design. The walls were lined with glowing panels that displayed streams of data, and the air was filled with a faint, pleasant hum. So, Sam said, breaking the silence, why's a fancy ship like this just floating around out here? Don't you have a crew or something? KX-11's eye dimmed slightly. I was once part of a research expedition. Unfortunately, my crew did not survive. Sam winced. Oh, sorry to hear that. It was a long time ago, KX-11 said. Now I simply drift through the galaxy, assisting travelers when I can. Sounds lonely, Sam said. The robot paused, its head tilting. Loneliness is a human concept. But perhaps you are correct. They reached the command center, a spacious room filled with holographic displays and glowing controls. KX-11 activated a console, and a star map appeared, showing a sprawling network of glowing lines and points. This is the safest route to the Zethyrus Nebula, the robot said, highlighting a path on the map. However, it will require several warp jumps, and there is a risk of syndicate patrols. Of course there is, Sam muttered, because nothing in my life can ever be easy. Kaleth cooed, his tiny hands reaching for the holographic map. All right, Sam said, squaring his shoulders. Let's do this. Fire up the warp drive, KX-11. The robot hesitated. Are you certain? Once we begin, there will be no turning back. Sam glanced at Kaleth, who was staring up at him with wide, trusting eyes. Yeah, he said softly. I'm certain. KX-11 nodded and began inputting commands. The ship's hum grew louder, and the walls shimmered as the warp drive powered up. Hold on tight, the robot said. This might be disorienting. The ship lurched forward, and Sam felt the now familiar sensation of falling sideways. Stars blurred into streaks of light, and the ship plunged into the vast unknown. As they hurtled through the cosmos, Sam couldn't help but smile. For the first time in what felt like forever, he had hope. Hang in there, Lyrae, he whispered. We're coming back for you. Kaleth chirped in agreement, and Sam laughed, the sound echoing through the ship. For a brief moment, amidst the chaos and uncertainty, everything felt right. The warp drive's hum faded, and the ship emerged from the swirling vortex of hyperspace. Outside the viewport, a massive gas giant loomed, its vibrant bands of color swirling like an interstellar oil painting. Orbiting the planet was a station that looked as if it had been cobbled together by a committee of indecisive architects. Spires jutted out at odd angles, and glowing conduits snaked across its surface, pulsating with energy. Welcome to Altheron Nexus, KX-11 announced, its voice tinged with what Sam could only interpret as robotic pride. A hub of diplomacy, commerce, and questionable moral decisions. Sam leaned closer to the viewport, Kaleth strapped snugly to his chest. Questionable moral decisions, huh? Sounds like my kind of place. Kaleth chirped, his tiny hands reaching for the swirling colors of the gas giant. Yeah, buddy, it's pretty, Sam said, patting the baby's head. Let's just hope this isn't another stop on the Sam Almost Dies tour. KX-11 guided the ship into a docking bay, the station's automated systems locking it in place with a faint hiss. I suggest we proceed with caution, the robot said. The Syndicate has informants everywhere, and your cargo is highly valuable. Sam glanced down at Kaleth, who was now trying to gnaw on the edge of his carrier. Yeah, no pressure or anything. The docking bay opened into a bustling concourse filled with aliens of every imaginable shape and size. Some were humanoid, while others resembled walking coral reefs or sentient blobs of light. Vendors hawked glowing trinkets and steaming bowls of alien cuisine, their voices blending into a cacophony of sound. Sam couldn't help but stare as a towering creature with 6 arms and a head that resembled a squid shuffled past. "Okay, I've officially seen everything." "Focus, Sam Turner," KX-11 said, its eye flickering. "We are here to meet a contact who can provide us with information about Liray's location." "Right," Sam said, tearing his gaze away from a vendor selling what looked like neon-fried insects. "And this contact is trustworthy?" KX-11 paused. "Trustworthy is a strong word. Let us say they are motivated." "That's comforting," Sam muttered. They made their way through the concourse, weaving between crowds of aliens and dodging the occasional hover cart. Calith seemed utterly fascinated by the chaos, his wide eyes darting from one bizarre sight to the next. "Kid's having the time of his life," Sam said. "Glad one of us is enjoying this." They arrived at a dimly lit cantina tucked into a corner of the station. The sign above the entrance flickered, the alien glyphs glowing faintly. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of something spicy and the low hum of conversation. "Stay close," KX-11 said, leading the way to a booth in the back. Seated in the booth was a wiry alien with 4 eyes and a mouth full of needle-like teeth. They wore a tattered cloak and had a small device strapped to their wrist that emitted a faint blue glow. "Ah, KX-11, the alien said, their voice a rasp. "It's been a while, and you've brought company." "This is Sam Turner," KX-11 said. "He is in need of your assistance." The alien's 4 eyes blinked independently as they scrutinized Sam. "A human? How quaint." "Yeah, nice to meet you too," Sam said, sliding into the booth. "So, what do we call you? Or should I just go with creepy cloak guy?" The alien let out a wheezing laugh. "You may call me Vec." "All right, Vec," Sam said. "KX-11 here says you can help us find someone." Vec leaned back, their eyes narrowing. "Information is not free, my friend. What do you have to offer in return?" Sam hesitated, glancing at KX-11. Well, I've got a winning personality and a baby that drools on everything. Does that count?" Calith chose that moment to let out a loud, happy squeal, waving his tiny hands. Vec's expression shifted, their gaze locking onto the baby. "That is no ordinary child." "Yeah, we've established that," Sam said. "So, are you going to help us or not?" Vec tapped their wrist device, a holographic display flickering to life. "I can provide you with the information you seek, but it will cost you." "Of course it will," Sam muttered. "Let me guess. You want my ship, my life savings, and my left kidney?" Vec's needle-like teeth gleamed in what might have been a smile. "Nothing so drastic. I require a favor." Sam groaned. "Why do I feel like this favor is going to involve me almost dying?" "It is a simple task," Vec said. "There is a syndicate operative on this station, a particularly troublesome individual who has been interfering with my business. Remove them, and I will tell you what you need to know." Sam glanced at KX-11, who nodded. "It is a reasonable request," the robot said. "Reasonable," Sam said. "You want me to take out a syndicate operative? That's like asking a goldfish to fight a shark." "Do you wish to find Liray or not?" Vec said, their tone icy. Sam sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Fine, but if this gets me killed, I'm haunting you." Vec chuckled. "I look forward to it." KX-11 led Sam and Calith out of the cantina and into the station's lower levels, where the air was colder and the lighting dimmer. The corridors were lined with rusting pipes and flickering panels, and the hum of machinery echoed faintly. "So," Sam said, his voice low, "how exactly am I supposed to take out a syndicate operative? Do I just ask them nicely to leave?" "I have a plan," KX-11 said. "Great," Sam said, "because your plans have been so foolproof so far." They arrived at a maintenance hatch, and KX-11 began interfacing with the control panel. This will take us to the operative's quarters. From there, we will improvise. Sam groaned. Improvise? Fantastic, because that's never gone wrong before. The hatch opened, revealing a narrow passageway that led to a small chamber. Inside, a syndicate operative sat at a console, their back turned. Sam's heart raced as he crept closer, clutching a wrench KX-11 had handed him. "This is a terrible idea," he whispered. Kalith chose that moment to let out a loud, happy squeal. The operative spun around, their glowing red visor locking onto Sam. Hi," Sam said, forcing a grin. "Lovely weather we're having, isn't it?" The operative lunged and chaos erupted. By the time Sam stumbled back into the cantina, bruised but alive, Vec was waiting with a smug expression. "Well?" the alien said. "Your problem's taken care of," Sam said, collapsing into a chair. "Now spill." Vec leaned forward, their eyes gleaming. "Lyrae is alive, but if you wish to reach her, you will need more than luck. You will need allies." Sam groaned. "Of course I will, because nothing in my life can ever be simple." Kalith cooed, and Sam managed a weak smile. "At least I've got you, kid." Vec's grin widened. "And perhaps you have me as well." The starship slipped through the shimmering veil of the Zethyrus Nebula, its hull glowing faintly from the charged particles that danced around it. Inside the cockpit, Sam slumped in the pilot seat, utterly exhausted. His face bore a fresh collection of bruises, and his hair stuck out in wild tufts. "Remind me," he said to KX-11, who stood beside him, monitoring the ship's systems, "why I keep agreeing to these insane plans of yours." "Because my plans work," KX-11 replied, its mechanical eye glowing faintly. "Debatable," Sam muttered. "I still can't believe we made it out of Altheron Nexus alive. That syndicate guy had arms like tree trunks. Literal tree trunks." Kalith, strapped snugly to Sam's chest, giggled and clapped his tiny hands, as if agreeing with the sentiment. "Yeah, laugh it up, kid," Sam said, ruffling the baby's soft tufts of hair. "You're the reason I've been punched more times in the past week than in my entire life." The nebula cleared, revealing a massive space station floating in the void. Unlike the ramshackle design of Altheron Nexus, this station was sleek and majestic, its spires gleaming like polished silver. The central hub was adorned with a glowing emblem that resembled a starburst, a symbol Sam had come to recognize as the royal crest of Kalith's lineage. "Welcome to Australis Prime," KX-11 announced, "the last refuge of the royal bloodline." Sam let out a low whistle. "Fancy place. You sure we're not about to get vaporized for trespassing?" "The Royal Guard has been expecting us," KX-11 said. "I transmitted our credentials before we entered the nebula." "Credentials?" Sam asked, raising an eyebrow. "I may have borrowed them from Vec," KX-11 admitted. Sam sighed. "Great. Add intergalactic identity theft to my list of crimes." The ship docked smoothly and Sam stepped out, Kalith still in his arms. The station's interior was just as impressive as its exterior. Gleaming corridors lined with banners bearing the royal crest, and guards in ornate armor standing at attention. A tall figure approached, their robes flowing like liquid silver. Their face was stern but kind, and their eyes glimmered with a faint, otherworldly light. "You must be Sam Turner," they said, their voice resonant and melodic. "And this—" They knelt, their gaze softening as they looked at Kalith. "This is our future." Kalith cooed, reaching out to grab the edge of the figure's robe. "Yeah, he's cute," Sam said, "but he's also got half the galaxy trying to kill him, so maybe we could speed this up?" The figure rose, their expression serious. "You have done well to bring him here, but the danger is far from over. The Syndicate will not stop until they have extinguished the last spark of the royal line." Sam groaned. "Why does everyone keep saying stuff like that? It's like you're trying to jinx us." KX-11 stepped forward. "We require a plan to ensure Kalith's safety, preferably one that does not involve Mr. Turner being repeatedly punched." "Thank you," Sam said. Finally, someone's on my side. The figure nodded. There is a way, but it will require great sacrifice. Of course it will, Sam muttered, because nothing in my life can ever be simple. They were led to a grand chamber filled with ancient machinery. In the center of the room stood a massive crystalline structure that pulsed with a soft golden light. This is the heart of Australis, the figure explained. It is an artifact of immense power, capable of shielding Kalith from any threat. But to activate it, someone must bond with it, become its guardian. Sam frowned. Bond with it? What does that mean? The guardian becomes one with the heart, they said. Their essence merges with the station, granting them the ability to control its defenses and protect its inhabitants. But they can never leave. Sam's stomach sank. So, whoever bonds with this thing is stuck here forever. The figure nodded. It is a heavy burden, but it is the only way to ensure Kalith's safety. Sam looked down at the baby, who was now chewing on his own fist. He thought about everything they'd been through, the danger, the chaos, the sheer insanity of it all. And yet somehow this tiny drooling alien had wormed his way into Sam's heart. All right, Sam said, squaring his shoulders. I'll do it. The room fell silent. Even KX-11 seemed taken aback. Are you certain? The figure asked. No, Sam admitted, but this kid deserves a chance, and honestly, I'm kind of tired of running. Kalith let out a soft whimper, as if sensing what was about to happen. Sam kissed the top of his head. You're gonna be okay, buddy. They'll take care of you. He handed Kalith to the figure, then stepped toward the heart. Its golden light seemed to pulse in time with his heartbeat, drawing him closer. Sam Turner, KX-11 said, its voice uncharacteristically soft. You are braver than I anticipated. Thanks, KX, Sam said, managing a weak smile. Take care of the kid for me, all right? The robot nodded. You have my word. Sam placed his hands on the heart, and a surge of energy coursed through him. The room dissolved into light, and for a moment he felt as if he were floating in a sea of stars. When the light faded, the others saw only the heart, its glow now brighter and steadier. Is he... The figure began. He is here, KX-11 said, its eye glowing faintly. And he will protect us. Years later, Australis Prime stood as a beacon of hope in the galaxy, its defenses impenetrable. Kalith grew into a wise and compassionate leader, guided by the lessons Sam had unknowingly imparted. And though Sam could no longer roam the stars, his presence was felt in every corner of the station. The heart's glow would occasionally flicker, as if laughing at some unseen joke. Because, even in the infinite cosmos, Sam Turner had found his place and his purpose.